Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India. Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaste. Welcome to the course on Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. In this session, I am going to introduce this course, introduce in terms of what is the meaning of Yoga and Positive Psychology, what is the need of both of these, how both of these can be combined, what will be the course objective, why this course has to be offered and why this can be useful to all of you. And I will also share about the genesis of this course. It started about 8 or 9 years ago in the School of Management in IIT Bombay, and since then this course has evolved and it has reached to this stage where it is being offered on NPTEL and on the SwayamPrabha platform. So I am going to share all of these things in this session. This course could be termed as engineering career and life. This could also be termed as art of managing career and life, and it could be termed as science of managing life and career. So it could have termed in different ways depending on who is the faculty member, who is the teacher, and what is the background of that teacher who offers this course. Many of you might have noticed that I am in the School of Management, so I am calling it Managing Career and Life, and had this course, and I believe that my colleague and I teach in the Technology University, a lot of engineers and scientists in the natural sciences and the technological fields, they work here, and many of them could have offered this course and they could have very well termed this as engineering of life or engineering of career. They could have termed as art of managing career and life, etc. So essentially managing, the word managing comes from my background, but the core, the pillars of this course, which are yoga and positive psychology, they are going to remain the same. Positive psychology we are going to refer because that's a emerging field, emerging in the sense that the major thrust to this area came about 20 years ago. Not that positivity and positiveness in psychology was not there, but systematic studies, more empirical studies, conscious effort in theory building, all that started about 20 years ago. So we are keeping this, but we are also looking at the broad perspective of Indian psychology. I am going to explain the Indian psychology and different concepts arising from there in the due course, but for time being we can understand that Indian tradition, Indian culture has also reflected, like most of the cultures in the world, have systematically reflected upon how to lead a good life, how to attain happiness, how to attain success in life, what can be called success in life, how a good life looks like. All these fundamental questions were systematically, thoroughly analyzed and thought through. So a lot of concepts arise from this kind of thinking and the text and the scholarly material being produced in the process. Now, I am going to start our discussion with few stories. First story for the session is of the co-founder of WeWork, the very famous company. Many of you might have seen WeWork workplaces in your cities. They are shared workplaces, and some prime properties are being acquired by this company in many cities across the world. The founder of this company, Adam Newman, he almost acquired like a cult status. Company was valued at $50 billion pre-IPO. But as we know that in the IPO, in the process of bringing IPO, a systematic auditing is done, the prospectus is produced systematically, and in that process more thorough and rigorous analysis about the value of the company, potential of the business model, success of the business model, all that is analyzed. And in the while drafting the prospect, the value as evaluated by the prospect writers, the auditors, was turned out to be $9 billion. That was a major shock, because that was a revelation in a sense that the value of this company was highly inflated. If we look at this kind of inflated evaluation being done about this company, one pointer straight away goes to the co-founder Adam Newman. So, if we look at the reasons of this kind of inflated valuation earlier, one pointer certainly straight away goes to the co-founder of this company, and it is discussed in the media very widely, and some of the very well informed reporters also stated their analysis in terms of the whims and fancies of the Adam Newman as the major cause of this inflated value and the devaluation and crashing down of the value. One of the example is certainly shocking for any person who has some understanding about business and how the business organizations are to be run. He charged $185 million as consulting amount from his own company. Current status is that company is still making losses to the range of 2 billion per fiscal year, and as it happens, thanks to the media, thanks to the social media, success and failure both get magnified in the current times. So, Wall Street Journal reports that Newman had the inspiration to live forever, to become world's first trillionaire, expand WeWork to planet Mars, become Israel's prime minister, become president of the world. Basically, most of his endeavors were directed towards building his own brand, he becoming more and more powerful, and lot of these things are reflections of narcissistic attitude, deep and probably perverted self-love, and not looking at the other variables at all which have to be considered while running a business organization. I come to the second story of the session. The second story or case study is of Sachin Bansal. Sachin Bansal is the co-founder of Flipkart with the Binny Bansal. We all know, we all are rather proud of this duo who has started our Desi Amazon in 2007 by started selling books online in India. In 2009, their company was declared by the Business Today as one of the most promising startup company. In 2010, they were given the Entrepreneur of the Year award by Ernst & Young consulting organization. They are very successful duo. Flipkart is a very successful company. At this moment when we are recording this session, the valuation of this company is more than $35 billion. In 2006, till 2006, Sachin Bansal was the CEO of the company. In 2016-17, the talks about this company, the stake being sold to the Walmart, that happened. This transfer of the ownership happened very successfully. Sachin Bansal sold his shares. He left his CEO position even before that, and kind of retired from this company. He took time off. He thought about new company, but at the same time, he also worked on his own personal well-being. In this duration, he lost about 25 kgs of his weight, and he looks to be much more healthier and fitter uh, in comparison to what he used to look like a few years ago. He set up a company called Navi, which is aspiring to be a universal digital bank of the India. It is still it is operating on many financial products. It is only 3 years of its existence. The Navi is in the fourth year, and within this time frame only, this company became profitable. And Sachin Bansal says that daily meditation and yoga has been his chief de-stressing activities. So these two stories tell about how someone can deal with the business success. These two stories tell about how a person can approach life and career in altogether different way, and what is the basis on which these stories are, or these stories can be compared. The basis is that both of these events, both of the lives were managed, or both the careers were managed by the individual himself. There were not any regulatory pressure, political pressure, or economic pressure behind what they did for themselves and for their company. That was their choice. So these stories tell that we can manage our life, and we can manage our career, and we can actually mismanage our career and life as well. Major thrust to the field of positive psychology came with the special issue of American Psychologist in 2001. And in the introductory article of the American Psychologist issue, where 12 articles on the positive psychology were published, authors Martin Seligman and Chick and Mihai, they share also two incidences or stories, we can say. One story is shared by Seligman about his daughter, and the story goes that daughter was very young, apparently 5-6 years old, and there was a conversation between his daughter and himself. Daughter said that till the time I was 3, I was more of a whining child. On the third birthday, I decided to be to whine less, to complain about things much lesser. And when I am 5 year old today, I am no longer a whiner. And then she directs the conversation to his father, Professor Seligman, that if I can stop whining, you can also stop to be a grouch. And Martin Seligman says that that was a very eye-opening conversation, because no one said Nikki, the daughter, to reflect and to set the direction of her life towards more positive attribute. But she did that, and not only she did that, she was able to inspire uh, her father. Another story is shared by Chikan Mihai. Chikan Mihai, I can share few seconds about him. Mihail Csikszentmihalyi is a great psychologist of our time. We lost him about few months ago. I'm recording this session in February 2022. 2 months ago, uh, he passed away. His most popular work is in the field of flow. Flow is the feeling of being immersed and experiencing a kind of timelessness while engaged, or rather intensely engaged in an activity. So, Seligman is most known for his concept of flow, great psychologist. So, these two were the co-authors of this introductory paper. And here the Csikszentmihalyi shares this story about, rather it's an observation about the war veterans of the World War II. It was during the World War when he moved, before the World War rather, he moved to USA from Europe because he was interested in psychology, and psychology was not taught as a major subject that time in the European university or the place where he was, and in America it was probably more well developed stream. So he moved to USA, and his observation is that post war, after losing the social support, many of the war veterans turned out to be desperate, hopeless, and they lost the sense and direction and meaning and purpose in life. But there were few who were in the similar situation, but they retain their, or they regain their purpose, they remain full spirited, and they build their life altogether different way, even without having that kind of social support which they were having, or financial support which they were having at the wartime. So, these four stories or caselets tell us that self management is inherently our choice. Self management can be done consciously. Most of the courses taught in our schools and colleges are about managing material, managing numbers, managing technology, managing money, or managing external things. Very rarely we create opportunities for a student to have a course about managing self. But if we look at who manages money, material, man, and all the science and technology, all finance and production, it is human being. And what is that human being? The human being is special because of his mind, because of his emotions. So, when we have all the courses of the world about managing exteriority, there are hardly courses on managing interiority. But the fact is that it is the interiority, it is the intrinsic state or inherent characteristics of human being which decide the quality of management they do of the money, material, people, land, other resources, etc., etc. So, there is a need to have a systematic study on managing self, and like we make it compulsory for kids to study maths or science, we need to think about making a course like managing self also a compulsory, a very important critical aspect rather in any educational setting. In the current time, it is becoming even more important, and I wish to communicate this idea about why the importance of managing self is only increasing. And now in the next two slides, I am going to explain how this idea of self management and managing life and career, consciously managing life and career, is becoming even more important in current times. I can share, I would share only two slides about that, which tell how, what has happened, what has changed in the current time, what is changing in the current times, which is making self management a conscious pursuit and conscious effort of self and career management is important. One is how the nature of economy is changing, and as the nature of economy is changing, our nature of professional life is also changing. And secondly, I am going to touch upon briefly about the gig economy. So, first is, let us look at how our professional lives are changing. Our professional lives are changing around changing the concept of business models, changing business models, changing the way marketeer and customers are interacting. If we look at in last 200 years how the marketeer or industrialist and the consumer, their interaction has changed, this graph explains this idea. About 100 years ago, if you are able to produce a useful stuff, a useful machine or useful resource, and if you could do it within the economy of scale and scope, you are successful marketeer. You provide what is not available to the people, and you can draw value from there, you can earn profit from that process. That was the commodity market. From the commodity market came more specialized goods and services, and that is why we started calling stuff goods, not commodities. So, commodity is clothing, and the variety of cloth is, they become the goods. Goods became services in next few decades. It is not only sufficient to sell the cars, and cars also started being sold like commodity, became goods and became service. When Ford made their cars first time, so very successful implementation of the line system of production, one of the slogans of one of the very famous statement attributed to Henry Ford is that you can choose any car if it is black. So, they were producing only black cars, these were more like commodities, but very soon the commodity became goods. We started getting different kind of vehicles run on the engine using the four wheels. Here came the vehicle which are suitable for the smaller family vehicles, for using in the agricultural activities, vehicles used for commuting of the large number of people. All that kind of development happened, and the commodity like car became good, like luxury car or bus or tractor, they all came as commodity. But from the commodity to goods, things have moved to services. People not only look at the product, they not only look at the quality of the product, but they also look at the service being provided along with the product. I started my career in 2000, and my first job was about selling luxury cars. Those days Opel Astra and Opel Corsa were launched in India, and there, that was the time I could look at how the car market was operating and how the car distributors, whom we call dealers, and they used to be big industrialists and big business people of their times, how they used to make money. And I was kind of surprised that most of the dealers, the car dealers, were not making money by selling cars. They used to get some margin from the company by selling the product, selling the cars to the customers. But most of their earning used to happen by having a good workshop where the repairing used to take place of the cars of the brand they were selling, and then later on they started giving the service to other cars as well, because that became even more attractive and rather important to gain the profitability in their business, in their overall business. So, services become important, and that not only happened in the car market, it happened almost in all the fields. So, even if you are selling a matchbox, there has to be a safety instruction. Even if you are selling a soap, there has to be a helpline where you can report if there are any allergic reactions because of the soap. And from these small product to very high engagement product like cars or selling apartments, all those stuff has to be supported by very strong service, and that became the expectation of the customers. From the services marketing or from the services, the customer focus and industrialist focus move towards experience. All activities related to business are experiences. So, it is not only sufficient to provide a particular product, or provide a particular service to the customers, it became equally important to give the best experience by all the touch points of the customer and the service or goods provider. Touch points may start from pre-sales pitch, making person aware of the product, till use of the product or disposing of the product as well. So, people look for not product and services, but they look for experience. And if you look at the current narrative in the marketing, it is very well reflected in the marketing, but it is influencing all branches of management. It is influencing all branches of human endeavors. So, whether it is operations, supply chain, quality check, managing information system, all these are aiming at providing experience. NPTEL, SwayamPrabha, Coursera, how they are distinguished? They are also distinguished not only based on the content, they are also based on the experience being provided in the process of taking the course from these platforms. So, experience is becoming and has become rather the core of the offering. From experience, we are moving to the transformation economy. What does that mean? That means customers wishes to be involved in the creation of the product. So, Nike started with this idea of very customized shoes. Tutorials, very lot of online tutorials are there, and their major customization is happening. Very individual treatment is being offered by the products, and not only individualized treatment, in fact there are some products where customer have deep engagement in transforming what they get and what they are using at the particular platform. So, take the example of Facebook or Twitter. These are what? These are just platforms, and all the content is being provided by the customer, and still they are called consumers. Airbnb, the process of creating value happens with the involvement of the customer in Airbnb or even in Ola. So, these changes are happening on the bedrock of technology and happening at the global scale. So, professional context is being defined by movement from commodity to experience and transformation economy. And as if this was not sufficient, we are having gig economy. Gig economy is a situation where we have large number of service providers, but they are not attached to single organization, or they are not full-time employees of the organization. They come in contact with the customers or clients for a specific service, and that interaction happens at a platform. Organization has reduced to only in the form of a platform where buyers and sellers meet, they satisfy each other's expectations, they do the transaction with the help of that platform, and things go on. So, we have large number of employees who are not the full time employees, they are entrepreneurs, they are professionals. So, most evident example is the Ola and Uber drivers, but there are many other examples. For the software development, there are platforms where independent professionals are available, who come in contact with the clients and customers, provide their services and move on. We have platform for storytellers, we have platform for content writers, advertisement makers, website creators, even farmers. So, this gig economy where there is no concept of full time employment, which is run on the basis of changing technology, people have to figure out what is going on in the market. They need to have the learning, relearning, unlearning. They need to find out what is their niche, and they need to work to satisfy the customers in the best possible way, because customer ratings are becoming very evident and important, rather critical for getting services an opportunity to serve next time. So, change of the economy from commodity to experience and transformation and nature of gig economy has resulted into creation of a vast pool of knowledge workers and gig workers. Knowledge work and gig work has some peculiar characteristics. These are continuous innovation, continuous learning, continuous self management and managing productivity. If we look at how the economy is working and how the experience economy is taking over all other forms of economic transactions, we see a continuous innovation process. Innovation is not something out of the work context, innovation has become part of the work. Innovation has become part of a kind of job description. Responsibility of knowledge worker is to be innovative and keep being opportunistically conscious and creative about innovation. Knowledge workers also have to remain engaged in the learning process, and learning is not free from unlearning. They have to unlearn old ways and keep learning the new ways. That has become part of the job. They also have to manage themselves. There is no time office, there is no punching cards, there are no even bio attendance system. They have to manage their schedule, they have to manage their productivity, they have to interact with the customers, they have to take responsibility of interacting with the platform managers. All that has to be done as an entrepreneur. So, self management is becoming extremely important, managing their time, managing their productivity. And in the current times, in the knowledge work, quality is not that much important. Important in the sense it is not a differentiator. Quality has become a basic qualification to enter the field. So, in this new era, the productivity management is not focused on quantity, how much unit you produce, how much trips you make for a Uber rider, or how many stays happen in a Airbnb place, or how many project how many software development assignment one gets on a free sorry on an open platform of the software developers. The quantity matters less, quality matters a lot, because even if you offer few services and if the quality is good, you get good ratings and you get more chances of getting next business. You may take up quantity, but if you mess up in the quality, there is a very less likely chances you getting the opportunity to serve, opportunity of serving new customers next time. So, all these things have changed in our professional context. In this context, let us look at, are workers thriving? Are they enjoying? Are the employees, and particularly the young employees, are enjoying? Data suggests something very different. I am quoting only two data points, or the findings of two survey, Deloitte millennial survey and one more survey. It suggests that stress is increasing like pandemic amongst the millennials and generation Z's, who are basically 20 to 30 years of age. They are regularly stressed because of the financial future, uncertainty of the financial future, uncertainty about the welfare of the family, uncertainty or job prospects, day to day finances, physical and mental health. These are the reasons because of which young employees and young professionals, even young students, are suffering from this stress. And this data is almost coherent in the millennials as well as the Generation Z's. If we look at the mental health data, that also corroborates with this story. The percentage people reporting excellent or very good mental health is not even half of the working population, otherwise who are healthy people who don't have any serious ailment. Amongst those as well, not even the half of them are saying that they are feeling very good and excellent in terms of their mental health. So the question is, can a stressed out and anxious mind learn, be creative, innovative, envision the possibilities and use the autonomy being provided because of the changing professional context for the bigger causes? Can a stressed out mind be an innovative mind? And if a stressed out mind cannot be innovative mind or cannot envision the possibilities, how can it can take the real benefits which are presented to him because of the changing professional context? The changing professional context can become a burden for the person instead of being an opportunity for that person. And that's why we see the mental health issues are gaining attention, and mental health issues are gaining more are and the mental health issues are becoming more and more serious in the current times. The number of people dying because of the suicide has already surpassed the number of people dying because of the accident, wars and terrorist attacks together. This suggests that large number of people are not able to find meaning and purpose in their life. Large number of people are not able to manage their mind, manage their emotion, and they become so dysfunctional that their emotion and their mind starts working against them. And as a result of that, there is a huge percentage of the people who are not thriving but they are languishing. So this was the international data. Of course, Indian data was incorporated in those studies, but we were interested to know what exactly is going on in India. What is the state of well-being amongst the Indian youth, particularly those who are in the higher education. So last year, that means 2021, we conducted a survey across India, and data was collected from different parts of India: Mysore, Jaipur, Lucknow, Guwahati, other northeast state, Nagaland, Jammu, Bhopal, and all these places. Data was collected from the students uh, from different streams, from ranging from engineering to law to commerce. So it was a pretty representative data. This was the study we undertook with the support of ICSSR funded project. And what we found, that amongst the Indian youth population as well, more than 51% people were actually moderately flourishing, and 15% of them had the risk of slipping into languishing stage. About 35% people were actually flourishing. So there is a great opportunity for bringing larger percentage of people from moderately flourishing to flourishing zone and preventing 15-20 high risk people in the moderately flourishing zone in to keep them there and helping them to not slipping into the languishing stage.
Here we need to understand that to be flourishing means to be filled with the positive emotions and to be functioning well psychologically and socially. Whereas adults with the incomplete mental health are languishing in life and they are with the low well-being. So Key suggested that languishing may be conceived of as an emptiness, stagnation, constituting a life of a quiet despair, and parallels account of individual who describe themselves and life as hollow, empty, a shell, a void, etc. So this is how we need to understand what is flourishing, what is languishing, and moderately flourishing meaning some elements of flourishing and some element of languishing.
So this was the as is situation in, in Indian youth. We also wanted to understand what are the factors which determine the languishing or flourishing or moderately flourishing state of youth population. And what we found there was probably much more insightful. I am saying much more because the percentage of the languishing, flourishing and moderately flourishing size is in line with the more or less proportion we have found in the other surveys conducted by Gallup and other social indicator survey organizations. What we found, we were interested in looking at what are the driving factors of flourishing or languishing. So we looked at values, state of family, family cohesion, connectedness of the person with the social cause, their academic excellence, academic engagement. We also looked at engaged living, meaning their ability and their perception about they being able to live according to their values, because person can might be having certain values but might not have opportunity or the other emotional resources required to live those values. So we looked at that aspect as well. What we found there was self direction in the multinomial logistic regression. The self direction was the major determinant of the flourishing. Achievement and self direction were the only two values which were connected to flourishing, which were influencing flourishing. And achievement had interesting relationship. If achievement increases as a value increases, then it make people move more towards languishing. So inherently it is the self direction, my ability to look at life, identify my priorities, perform according to that. This ability, this value was found to be the most important determinant of the well-being. And you know what? What was the second most important thing? The second most important thing was social connectedness. Students' ability to connect and ability to perform for the social cause and their connection with the social purpose was turned out to be another major factor which was resulting into which had a highest association with the flourishing. Family cohesion has the ability to prevent people slipping into languishing, but that is more closely related to moderately flourishing. The family cohesion was able to explain more number of cases, more than 80% cases of the moderately flourishing zone rather than flourishing zone. They were explaining about 19-20% of the flourishing zone population, but explaining 80% of the moderately flourishing population. So this study again strengthened our idea and strengthen our idea. So this study also strengthened our idea to float this course and design this course and to be floated at this platform, because flourishing is determined by self direction. So any course on self management is about attaining highest level of personal well-being. Any course on self management or career management is intricately connected to well-being, and well-being is found to be deeply connected to flourishing. It is actually expressed through flourishing, and lack of well-being is expressed through languishing, and these things are deeply connected to the agency, my ability to look at my situation and take action, reflect upon it and take action. That's why a course on the self management need to be based on well-being, and it has to strengthen the agencies, it has to strengthen the self efficacy, it has to work on people to to become much more aware of their life situation and their life choices. So all these findings goes back to the age old wisdom of Bhagavad Gita, which says that I am my foe and I am my friend. This self is the foe and friend of itself. So it is the self only which has to work for the self management and self improvement. Uddharet atmanatmanam atmanam mavasadhayet atmaiva atmano bandhur atmaiva ripuratmana. Ripu is foe, bandhu is friend or brotherly person. This self is both, it is friend and foe. So elevate yourself through the power of yourself. That is the message, that is the old message coming from the wisdom tradition, and that is substantiated by our most recent research about the well-being in the youth population as well. Now let us look at how the self-management is connected with career management. To understand the linkage between self-management and career management, the competency framework or 21st century competencies list is an excellent window. This research was conducted by Boydges and it was followed by many other follow-up studies. What they communicate is that there are three clusters of competencies which are must, which are required for professional success, without which you are not even in the game. But these competencies are not the determinants of the success or not determinant of the outstanding performance. They are not the determinant of differentiating the average performers from the better performers or good performers at workplace. Those competencies which are minimally required, which are minimal requirement to be in the profession, are expertise and experience. If I am a software engineer, if I need to work on the Visual Basic or Java, I must know that language, I must know it technically. Second component is knowledge. Knowledge is different from skill, knowledge is different from expertise. Knowledge is much more broad based. Knowledge is about not only what is the Java language, but it also about where to use, which module to be used for which product, how to convey your idea, what is the procedure of doing things in the organization, what is my declarative knowledge, which I have certificates about, and my ability to look at the pattern, how my knowledge is connected to the other fields. This is called knowledge, which is different from having a specific skill. Then assortment of the basic cognitive abilities, like I should have a sufficiently strong functional memory, I should be able to understand the reasoning, logic. These are the threshold competencies. If they are not there, I am not even in the game. I will not even get selected for a job. But what distinguishes growth in any career are some other set of competencies, and those competencies are classified in cognitive, emotional and social intelligence category. Cognitive intelligence category or cognitive competencies, which are the differentiator, are not about just basic cognitive competencies which we just discussed by now. This new 21st century cognitive competencies are systems thinking and pattern recognition. Systems thinking meaning our ability to recognize how one variable in a situation or in a problem is connected to other variable and other variables. How it is not by looking at just impact of one variable over other I can understand a phenomena. I need to first of all recognize that there are no straight cause and effect to variables found in the nature. Everything is affected by everything else. Large number of factors affect each of the factors. So our ability should be to look at sufficient number of variables, look at the pattern, how they are affecting each other and what is the system boundary, because if we look at the universalistic perspective, everything is connected to everything else, so where we have to stop. So we need to stop where it is meaningful to make some difference to a context, to a identifiable context. That is systems thinking. My ability to look at things, look at phenomena not as the impact of one thing over other, but look at phenomena as the constellation of variables, as the constellation of multiple forces operating each other, operating and influencing each other. Second category of competencies, which are 21st century competencies, are emotional intelligence competencies. This emotional intelligence competency is about being aware of my own emotions, being aware of others' emotion, self-awareness. Also, our ability to manage our emotions,